I think we're live.
Yep.
Good Baltimore morning, everyone. My name is Kira Wisniewski. My pronouns are she, her. I have the distinct honor of being the host and co-organizer of Creative Mornings Baltimore. So glad to be back with you here this morning, coming to you live from Adorn Vintage Furniture in Mount Vernon, situated on Piscataway land in beautiful Baltimore City. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Before we get started, I want to say that Black lives continue to matter. Creative Mornings is one of over 200 chapters around the world, and there are dozens of events happening today. And again, we're just so happy that you're here with us. We are going to next thank our special sign language underwriter. So we have sign language here provided by HASA. We know if we have to live up to our mantra of everyone is invited and everyone is creative, we have to do continual steps more to make our events more and more accessible. So we're really excited to be working with HASA and our friends Anessa and Lauren here today providing ASL. Our ASL is underwritten by Eddie's of Roland Park, and going with today's theme, Eddie's of Roland Park is reminding you that Rosh Hashanah starts on September 6th with the new release of their Jewish New Year menu, featuring roast brisket and gravy, European apple cake, Eddie's classic matzo ball soup, which you're seeing on your screen, and more. Details at eddiesofrolandpark.com. So I know you're over the pandemic. I'm over the pandemic. We're all over the pandemic. It's like constant mental gymnastics. We're all a little tired and we've all experienced some trauma, and that's real on various gradients. But I want to thank you again for being here and just really kind of reiterate that you deserve this time to be here. So I know it's tempting to try to multitask right now, send another email, you know, this or that, but I really want to invite you and give you permission to be fully present for the next 45 minutes or so. We have a really great and exciting speaker today, and you deserve to be here and to be present. So thank you, and you're hopefully giving yourself permission right now to do so. I know that this cannot replace the IRL experience, but hopefully you'll be still feeling like you're part of this community. We of course want to hear what it's like for you on your end. So we invite you, of course, to slide into those DMs. You can also email us at baltimore@creativemornings.com. And we'd love to see what it looks like on your end. So go ahead and tag us at Baltimore_CM on whatever social media platform you're joining us on. We have, of course, welcome again, Anita and Arlene, our wonderful Creative Mornings volunteers that are engaging with you on the chat. So, hey y'all. Hey Anita, what's up? And then, are we gonna bring Arlene on too? Doop, 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 doop. Hey, hey. So Anita is gonna be joining you on YouTube. Arlene is over on Facebook. So these are the lovely faces that you're engaging with there. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And next up, we have our manifesto. So this is when we invite somebody special to the Creative Mornings community to read the Creative Mornings manifesto. And this month, we're coming a little, I don't know, meta, internal, keeping it in-house, yeah. So our guest today is Mario Brandhorst, who is part of the Creative Mornings team, is very integral into really making this all happen. You might not see him as much since we've gone virtual, but he is very present at these events and really helping make all of this tech stuff happen. So Mario, who you see on your screen right now, outside of Creative Mornings, helps run two small businesses located here at Mount Vernon. He runs B&H Chimneys as well as Frank Property Management. So welcome, Mario, to the Creative Mornings.
Hey, hi everyone. Thanks, Kira. I'm going to read this. As many times as I've heard this, I still don't know it by heart, which just seems real wrong, but we're rolling with it. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Yay!
Oh,
Thank you so much, Mario, and thank you all. Creative Mornings really runs on an engine of generosity. We are all here volunteers. No one's getting paid, but we're happy to be here with you every month and really rely on people and companies that give a damn. And so this is where we would show slides of our partners, but I have these analog slides, not slides, signs, compliments of one of our sustaining partners. And so one of my favorite things about Creative Mornings is that we get to work with companies and local businesses that we truly love, starting with Adorn Vintage Furniture, where we're coming from right now. And it's Raina's birthday this week, so happy birthday, Raina. Yeah. Come by tomorrow, wish her happy birthday, and buy some really cool furniture, like the chair I'm sitting on right now. We have Alpha Graphics, who made these signs. Shout out to women-owned businesses. Eddie's of Roland Park, who you heard about already, right? Go get that matzo ball soup. Hasa, who's providing our ASL. And then we also love Impact Hub of Baltimore. Local Color Flowers, who provide us with lovely flowers every month. Maryland Art Place, who is our fiscal sponsor. Thank you to them. Pixelated Photo Booth. They're doing some really cool and interesting things in this pandy that we continue to be in, so check them out. And of course, White Tea Co., located in Whitehall Mill, so shout out to them. And of course, the global partners that sponsor every Creative Mornings chapter, Skillshare and MailChimp, so shout out to them. We're dropping in the chat now a list of all of the local businesses that we've had the opportunity to work with since our reboot. Right now, it's more important than ever to really support those local businesses. If you can't support them monetarily, go ahead and like them on Instagram or give them a good review on Yelp or Google. All of that really helps, is really important to small local businesses. So encourage you to do that. And this month's theme was selected by Creative Mornings Portsmouth, and it is the theme of release and was illustrated by Allie Runyon. So shout out to Portsmouth and Allie. All right, now while we're all here. Yeah. Shawna Potter is the only child of a single mother and therefore a feminist. Her experience with street harassment and the desire to respond to it effectively turned her from a self-absorbed apolitical feminist into an active and intersectional one. Her recently published book, Making Spaces Safer, A Guide to Giving Harassment the Boot Wherever You Work, Play, and Gather, is an excellent guide for anyone looking to make their community more fun and inclusive. Shawna is also the front person for War on Women, is ordained, so ready to do your wedding, and runs Big Crunch Amp Repair. Creative Mornings Baltimore, please help me welcome Shawna. Yay!
Thank you so much for having me. Even though I haven't been on the road in over a year and a half, I would not get up this early for anyone but you, Kara, so thank you for that excuse to see the sun this early. I also want to thank you for that great introduction and for acknowledging the land that we're on and for acknowledging that Black lives still matter. So thank you for, I was going to say the same things. Make it easy on me. So when you approached me about potentially doing this subject of release, I instantly thought of the need for a healthy release of my emotions, but specifically my anger. I think a lot about who in our society is allowed to be angry. I think our society has a very complicated and unfair position on who gets to be angry, who gets to express it, who's not allowed to, and I think that when I think about anger, I think that men, and especially white men, are allowed to be angry, and basically everyone else isn't allowed to express that emotion fully, even though it is an emotion and it is part of who we are as human beings. And so I can only speak from my experience of being a white woman, obviously, but I was raised to be I was allowed to be passive aggressive. I was allowed to be manipulative. I was allowed to nag. But being angry is just something that wasn't taken seriously and wasn't allowed. And that really pisses me off. But the thing is, like, we deserve anger. I think any marginalized community, anyone that's treated with disdain or dismissed or experiences identity-based harassment or violence, we deserve our anger the most, you know? There's a constant backlash against any progress that is made as far as any like civil rights or justice goes. But you know, for women, it's reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights. There's still not equal pay for equal work. There's no maternity leave. There's not good health care. Climate change. Anything that you can think of, any issue that you care about affects women in a specific and unique way. And our voices are often not only invited to take part in the discussions that will have something to do with the way our lives are affected, but when we do raise our voices, we're often ignored or dismissed. And so this idea of who's allowed to be angry, when is it okay, it just release made me think of, well, there was a time when I felt that I needed to release my anger, or I was going to have it turn in on myself or turn on someone else and affect them. So I started a band. I started a punk rock band. And that band, it's called War and Women, has given me the freedom to express my anger, as well as the freedom to, it's the first band where I've ever not played guitar, and so I'm just up there singing. It's kind of a vulnerable position to be up there and just representing myself and my voice and not have the shield of a guitar in front of me. And so that's been kind of freeing to accept that I'm good enough on my own as a woman, and I don't need to play guitar as proof that I deserve to be up on a stage. I do also love the freedom of, I really do dance like no one's watching on stage. And that is really freeing to be a woman on stage and not be worrying about, oh, is there a little bit of fat over here? Is there a little cellulite showing? Did I shave every hair on my leg? You know, to not worry about being seen as hot or sexy, and to know that that's not where my worth comes from while on stage, that I can actually just let my body move and feel how it wants to feel. And it's a really beautiful thing to be up there and feeling that free. And that's because I'm allowing myself to be my full self, which includes my anger. It also gives me the ability, like having this healthy release, like really War and Women it's my healthy release of my anger. Like I really needed it at the time. And what I found is that if I have a place to put my anger that's healthy, that maybe even helps other people on the best days, you know, that it has given me more patience in other settings. In professional settings, you know, one of the things, Kara, that you mentioned that I do is I teach anti-street harassment stuff, bystander intervention, safer space tactics. You know, I really, my whole goal is to make sure everyone deserves equal access to a good time. That's all I want. So I go into spaces, venues, clubs, whatever, and teach them how to make sure everybody feels welcome and that they know what to do if someone is harassed or experiences violence. And so sometimes I come up against a little bit of resistance when teaching these things, because for some people they're new ideas. And so the fact that I have a healthy place to put my anger, it's given me more patience in these more professional settings where I can actually meet people where they are, take their concerns seriously, and walk them through why I'm right, basically, is what I am getting at, you know, why it's better over here, right? Where everyone has a good time. And then I've also found that in like personal settings, I don't know that I have more patience in personal settings, but I am better at establishing boundaries. I can say, no, I'm not doing this. I don't need to put up with this. Because often if we have nowhere to put our anger, that anger is either going to turn out on other people or it's going to turn inward. And so it's bad for everyone if we don't have a release, right? And so I don't want that because even though exploding on someone and yelling might feel really good in the moment, it doesn't help the cause and it doesn't help me in the long run. So and one thing that I thought about actually, I don't think I've ever put it into words until you asked me to prepare for this, is that my anger is actually a direct result of men not having a healthy place to process their anger. I hadn't really thought of it like that, and I think that's really interesting, that if men were allowed to not only put their anger somewhere that was healthy, and really all their emotions, if they had a healthy release for all their emotions, it might be a little better for the rest of us that have to put up with them. But anyway, the point of all this and what the thesis that I came to after talking about needing a release, finding a release for our emotions so we can get healthy, is that everyone should just start a punk band. So that's what I encourage everyone to do. Let it out, because it will eat us alive if we don't.
Yeah, I love it. Woo, woo, woo!
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Shawna. It's so exciting. I mean, I'm such a fan of you for like so many reasons.
I'm a fan of you.
Oh my goodness, stop. But it's so exciting to hear that this has been like such a place for you to have that release. I want to open it up to the audience joining us today. If you have any questions, if you're joining us on either YouTube or Facebook, you can go ahead and write your questions right there in the chat, and then I can see them on here, and then I can read them to Shawna. So definitely, if you have any questions, please let us know. But I'll go ahead and get us started. Okay. I have many questions for you.
Lay it on me.
I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about off camera is like with this pandemic that we continue to be in. And so when was the last time you were able to have that release on stage with your band?
October 2019.
Wow.
So it's been a long time, and I've been playing in bands and playing music, like touring, since I was 14 years old. And for a while, my self-esteem was definitely tied to, oh, did people say they liked me after the show? And oh, did I do a good job? Did I miss that note? And does everyone in town like my band? And luckily, I grew out of that, because I think that that's a really dangerous game.
Totally.
To have your self-worth be dependent on, do you have 500 people at a show? Like, that's ridiculous, right? It doesn't have anything to do with, are you good at what you do? Are you proud of it? Like, are you happy? And so, thank goodness I dealt with all that before the pandemic, because otherwise, like, I know of a lot of artists and all kinds of mediums that I think got kind of depressed because they need that audience feedback so much, and it's just gone. What do you do when that's just gone? And so, but all that's to say, I'm still looking forward to getting back in front of an audience. I still like it very much when they tell me I did a good job. I am an only child, so.
Have you had other ways of a release during this pandemic?
Yeah, obviously different. I don't
Right.
just go to my basement and scream.
I mean, but if
I
you do,
could.
like if
That's the thing. I could, and maybe that would help. Maybe today, after we're done here. No, but I did, like everyone else during the pandemic, I started a podcast, and it happens to talk about my band's latest album, which we released in the pandemic. It was done, and we didn't know what to do with it, so we thought, well, I guess we might as well put it out there. So my podcast is called But Her Lyrics, and each episode goes over a different song from the album, and I talk about the inspiration, how I wrote it, the politics behind it. I interview experts on the topics. So I've talked to some really amazing people that know way more about social justice issues than me. And then I also got to talk with my band. I interviewed my band over Zoom when it wasn't safe to meet in person, and talk to them about the song and writing and recording and being in a band together. And then I get to put these things out, and we have fans, luckily, that want to hear it. And it's so that's been a really amazing experience to try to find a way to connect with people when you can't be there.
For folks who might be unfamiliar with your band, could you talk a little bit more about, but her lyrics, like talk about a little bit more about like the band's message and your song content and
Yeah, we're a feminist hardcore punk band, and we try to be as intersectional as possible. And so I just talk about issues that matter to me, but kind of fall under the general umbrella of feminism, but acknowledging as much as I can that I'm a white woman with a lot of privilege. And so I sing about reproductive rights, I sing about rape culture, I sing about land back and acknowledgement movements. The whitewashing of the cannabis industry has been on my mind lately, especially here in Baltimore. So many things. I mean, like how religion is like founded, got twisted up and became a way to subjugate women. No offense, everybody, but it's true. So, just a lot of different things, and the way that they touch on women's lives specifically. And, trans lives matter as well, like fuck transphobia, all that. And so every now and again, though, not every issue applies to me, right? Obviously. So I do try to approach songs in a way that, well, what interested me about this subject? Why did I want to learn about it? Like, what's the thing that made it click for me where I could understand? And then can I turn that into a song and then give that experience to someone else in the audience? Because our audience is often white and male, right? How can I get them to care about this thing that I care about, or learn about this thing that I just learned about? And so I just think of our band as a diverse tactic, right? Like there's protests in the street, there's writing your congresspeople, whatever, and then there's playing in a punk band in front of an audience that might not hear these kinds of messages otherwise. And so that's my hope, is that we can turn people on to the things that matter.
Definitely. And I understand you are preparing to go back on tour.
Yeah, as much as I can mentally, yes. I'm preparing to go back on tour. We will be opening for Alkaline Trio and Bad Religion in October. It's a nationwide tour, so we're going to be as safe as possible, and we hope every audience member is as safe as possible. But when Bad Religion asks you to play, you say yes. So we said yes.
Sure. I mean, I can imagine, we talked about this a little bit off camera, but just the mental gymnastics that everyone's going through right now. I mean, definitely, I have friends with small children. They're under 12, and just, school's starting back next week, and there's a lot of feelings about that. Yeah. But I can also imagine just like the mental gymnastics of, I mean, we have some here at Creative Mornings too, right? Like, we're like, when do we go back in person? Mm-hmm. And like, we have tentatively been talking to some of our partners about when exactly that is, and it's kind of a question mark, but I can also imagine your mental gymnastics of going on tour and like what that might be like.
I mean, I think at some point you let go of the idea that you can control everything. That's all it comes down to, because you can't be around every single person that's on the tour the entire time. I don't know what the one sound guy is doing when I'm on my bus, right? So we have to, there's a leap of faith there, for lack of a better term, like a little bit of trust that everyone will stick to the protocols that we've all agreed upon, and just kind of hope for the best. And I don't know, I guess I just need a little hope right now, and I'm just excited to get back out there and yell about stuff I care about. These songs on our so we have a new album out called Wonderful Hell, and it came out October 2020, a year after the last show we played, and then our first show will be October this year. It's wild. but I have not played these songs live once.
Wow.
So I just can't wait to find out what weird dance moves I do during certain parts. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just be like, whoa, what's happening? Okay. I mean, that first show is going to be wild, and I can't wait.
Yeah. I so excited for you and that audience as well. We do have a couple questions in the chat, but I did want to, before we jump over to that, I did want to talk a little bit more about your book as well.
Oh yeah, please
Yeah,
do.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, the book, I mean, because we were just talking about like being safe, but this
Yeah.
is, I think, this book was written pre-pandemic, so a little bit of a
Yes.
different kind of safe, but can you tell us more about making
Yeah, but
spaces
that's
safer?
that's the amazing thing, right? Is that safety is like the general umbrella, and then there's so many things that fall under that, and I think people forget that harassment and identity-based violence should be part of that conversation, right?
Absolutely.
We have fire extinguishers, we know CPR, you know, people are carrying around Narcan, EpiPens, like we're prepared for things, defibrillators, right? Why can't we acknowledge that harassment is a public safety issue too?
Absolutely.
And so I'm so passionate about everyone being able to show up to a place and have a good time and like really like let go. And I wrote that book a couple years ago, and it just encompasses everything I've ever learned or had to answer, you know, a question or everything that's ever come up in a safer space training that I've done over the last 8 years. So if you can't hire me for a training, which I am available for, just buy this book. It's only $15 and you can do it yourself, right? So very in line with my punk sensibilities. Like, just do it yourself. Read this book, do it yourself, and make sure everybody knows that they're welcome in your space, and that if something does happen in your space, that you know how to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to a question here. So this is coming from Facebook. Sometimes the need to please and be liked is unconscious. How did you grow out of having your self-worth depending on that live show? Did something drastic happen?
Oh yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough, and it was a slow process. It did not come easily. But basically, I was in this band in high school called Fair Verona. I lived in Nashville at the time, and we were like kind of big. We were like not like huge, but like Nashville people knew who we were. We got written up in the city paper sometimes, right? So that band lasted about 4 or 5 years, and that's a really young, you know, that was a formative time for me, clearly, for everyone. And then that band kind of fizzled out, and all of a sudden my identity was gone. Who was I if I wasn't a person in this band? And so that's what started, you know, so I'm young 20s and starting to realize, oh, I have to build myself up, and music can be something I do, but not all that I am, because that's also relying on other people, because I choose, you know, I'm drawn to rock music and bands where it's an ensemble. And so I need to be able to rely on myself. And yeah, it was tough, but it meant just recognizing, like, if I'm proud of what I'm doing, and if I'm always improving or stretching the boundaries of what I'm doing creatively, then it comes to you. It comes to you, and it becomes a little bit less about what other people think about it, and more like, are you okay with yourself?
Do you have like advice?
Also go to therapy. I mean, like, just
That's
100%.
good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that it's so interesting. Again, I'm thinking of like some of my friends with like young children, and like how that people pleasing is just so ingrained into you.
I mean, and especially, you know, it's obviously it's in some cultures more than others. Women, especially,
Definitely.
that's our thing. You know, we don't want to rock the boat, but then you start thinking like, well, we don't want to rock the boat because when we do, we are punished for it socially. So it's a safety thing. We're keeping ourselves safe by going along with stuff. And when you start to figure out the ways where you can still speak up for yourself and then let go of whether or not someone reacts poorly to it, it's so helpful. I think I honestly would often think in my young 20s, I would just think like, be the grandma version of yourself now.
I love that.
You know that,
Yeah.
you know that like thing where like old people don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, they do what they want. And I was like, what if I just did that now? What if I didn't wait
Yeah.
to not care what other people think? Which is not the same as being kind to others or caring if you hurt them or all that. But like, why do they get to judge who I am and what I do? And why should I care about it at all? So just be your inner grandma.
Like that should be like a hashtag or something.
Yeah,
Like be your inner grandma.
I'm Blanche all the way.
I was recently watching Golden Girls, which
As you should.
It's always a great background, I think.
Yes,
like kind
right,
of
it's one of those
situation.
shows, yeah, for sure.
So good. Here's another question that's coming from Facebook. Can you tell us more about where you're touring, and will there be an ability to watch it online?
Yeah, so I'm really pushing for that, to be able to have a live stream with the headliners. I'm going to be talking with them more now that it's actually getting closer. It's an idea that everyone is on. It's on the table already, but it's so important to me, especially after how much we've learned in the last year or so about accessibility. I want that to continue for people that have disabilities that want to enjoy music. Everyone deserves to have a good time. So I'm really hoping that we do a live stream event, maybe at the end when we're really good, because we've been playing for 6 weeks and we know all the parts really well after not practicing for 2 years. And so cross your fingers. It's one of those things that unfortunately is up to the headliner.
Sure.
We're just the opening band.
Yeah, no, I love that. I haven't heard, I guess I haven't been looking for it either, but I haven't really been hearing about as bands are going back out, having a live stream part of a show.
They should. I encourage any band, anyone that's touring, anyone doing, interesting, cool things, there's a lot of disability activists out there that are telling us what they need. And it's our job to listen. And so there's been a lot of discussion. I've been trying to keep my ear to the ground about, it's that thing too where all the things that were messed up and not perfect about going to shows before, it's they're still there, and then now there's COVID.
Right.
But those other things didn't go away. And so it's now that we have to just, shift our priorities. Let's fix everything. If we're having masks and hand sanitizer, let's also make sure all the ramps go to working toilets, right? You don't want to show up to the bathroom and then it's busted. Make sure that people can get in. And if you have strobe lights, put up a sign. So if someone's gonna have a seizure, they can choose not to watch the show. Don't wear extra perfumes and scent for people to deal with that. Make a live stream event if people have mobility. And, it goes on and on. But there's a really great organization out of the UK called Attitude is Everything. And they have amazing guides about how to make an event, but a show specifically, more accessible for all. So everybody check out Attitude is Everything.
I love that because I think it's something that I think kind of on the flip side, right? So when the pandemic first happened, I think everybody kind of rushed to make things online,
Yeah.
but not and trying to just duplicate that in real person experience to
Yeah.
online, not really thinking about accessibility. And I think also, just going back to normal, it's no, we should do better.
Yeah, going back to normal is bad for a lot of people, you know, because it also includes harassment.
Definitely.
So, so this is our time, and I know everyone's stressed and broke and dealing with all of this as well as we can. You're
Right.
doing the best you can. But really now is such a great time to put all those things in place before people come back en masse.
Yeah, definitely. We have a question coming from YouTube. What type of music or artists are inspiring you in your work right now?
Let's see. So every now and again, I'll try to listen to an album before I go into the studio, hoping to sort of just absorb their talent through osmosis or something. And so I was listening to a lot of Annie Lennox recently. You know what, buy the album, be the judge of whether or not it worked, but doing that. And then Lately, we were talking before we started, as I've finally discovered streaming music. I've been rocking an iPod Classic.
Be your own grandma.
Be your own grandma. My iPod Classic is all I needed. It's all I wanted. I could find everything, whatever. But since I've been home, it's like, well, but my phone's right here. Can I just do this instead? So I've been streaming music and curating playlists. And honestly, I'm really enjoying very like chill atmospheric music, and so I couldn't tell you an artist or anything, but the playlists that are like almost like massage, you know, like when you're getting a massage and it's just like soundscapes. I've been doing a lot of that, probably just because I need to clear my head a little bit and not think too hard.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to like ASMR tracks
No,
or
I
anything?
hate that.
Oh,
Actually.
okay.
Yeah, that just sounds like someone needed a sound engineer and they couldn't get one. It sounds like amateur hour to me because I know live sound reinforcement. So I'm just like, oh no, the mic's too close. Back up. I can't do it.
All right, so we have another question coming from Facebook. What was the process you took when you were writing your book? Did you take time off? Did you seclude yourself in a cabin, or what did you do?
I don't envy anyone that's ever written a book. Writing a book is incredibly hard. It might have been the hardest thing I've ever done. But at the time, I didn't have any pets. I still don't have any kids, you know? And so I just had like a day job and would go out of town on tour sometimes, right? So I was in a pretty good position. I didn't take any time off, but what I did do was like kind of set a timer where every night for like 2 hours, I just chipped away at it until it was done. And the important thing there is when you're writing a book or even just a song, you know, 3 paragraphs of a song, there's no such thing as writer's block in my mind. If the words aren't coming out, that just means it's time to shift to editing or time to shift to research or collaboration. You know, it's time to do something else. And when you've exhausted that, those words will come back, they'll come out. And so that's what I did, and I'm really glad that I kind of already knew that before I started writing the book, otherwise I would have drove myself mad. So yeah, and it always helps to get an amazing editor. I need an editor because I'm used to writing, again, 3 paragraphs and then the song is done, right? And so then you write a whole book. I'm sorry, that is what?
That's a jump, a little jump.
Why did I do this to myself? Why did I do that? So I had an amazing editor at AK Press, Charles, and so shout out to Charles. Thank you so much for all your help.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any other questions, you can go ahead and put that in the chat and we can bring it up to the screen. But if you all are still, Rose on YouTube said everyone needs an editor.
Everyone needs an editor. Oh my gosh. Even in the band, I work with my longtime music writing partner, Brooks Harlan, and we are such a good team. I tell him when a riff is terrible, or it sounds too much like this band, can you change it, you know, and then he's like, you should hit that other note instead, and you know, it's really lovely to be able to edit each other, collaborate.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for you? You're
taking a nap. You got me up so early. No, you gave me coffee, it's fine. There we go. No, I'm gonna take all this makeup off as soon as I get home. So I can be in my natural state, hang out with my dog, who I didn't get to have the morning routine, the pandemic puppy morning routine. So I'm gonna hang out with her all day.
Is it a pandemic puppy?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
I'm sad we can't like put a photo up of the pandemic puppy right now.
That is absolutely something that I should have done because I talk about Rosie all the time.
We'll talk about Rosie now.
On my podcast, whoever I can. No, I gotta, she's 3 years old, she's a rescue, she is a reactive dog, and so that just means like she wasn't socialized, and so she's scared of people, she's scared of dogs, and she's a pit bull, so she's strong and scary looking herself. So if you ever see me walking a dog and she has a yellow vest on, stay back. Give her space. I kind of wish that I could have a sign Like, I'm reactive too. Like, give me space. Like, get away from me in public.
Well, Shawna, it's been so lovely.
Oh, we're going to end on that.
Having
Where I'm
you.
telling everyone to get away from me. Okay.
Do you want to add on another?
No, I'm excited about that tour. If you can, it's a nationwide tour. It's showing up everywhere. If you can get tickets or buy some merch online, it's super helpful. All artists have been suffering, so any help at all is fantastic. And then, but really, buy my book, Making Spaces Safer, or hire me to do a training in safer space tactics, bystander intervention, consulting, whatever. If you want people to feel welcome and safe, I'm your gal.
Yeah, I mean, talk about your Cash App or Venmo right now too. Let's throw it out there.
Venmo at Shawna C. Potter. Shawna with a W.
Yeah.
Shawna C. Potter.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, like support Shawna, support her band, or buy her book. Like do it all. Like,
yeah, everything's on shawnapotter.com.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
here.
Well,
This has been,
for having me.
it's been such a delight. I know it's early for you. I know it's early for a lot of people, but I'm so grateful for you and everything that you do, and like just for like the community here in Baltimore and around the world. Like,
Thank you.
You're such a treasure here.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Well, your attitude's infectious this early in the morning. I needed it. Thank you.
That and a little bit of like vent cold brew.
A
like
little bit of cold brew.
Here we are. But Sabina, if you could go tight back on Shawna, we're gonna have our selfie moment.
Where? Which one?
This one right here.
Okay.
So this is when we invite folks at home, and we're gonna do one right here to go ahead and take a selfie with you on their screen. And then we hopefully, tag us, tag Shawna, and we'd love to see what it looks like on your end. So thank you again. Yeah, that's a good one. Good.
That's my natural state.
So, and then we want to, of course, invite you to save the date for September 24th for our next Creative Mornings Talk, where we'll be inviting and welcoming Aaron Dante from No Pics After Dark podcast to be speaking about the theme of dare.
Ooh.
So yeah, so that is going to be our next speaker next month. And we're going to end with a little bit more quieter of a release and yelling.
Okay, I accept.
But but we're gonna. I mean, we could. I don't know how people feel about yelling. It's still early. It feels early, right? So we're gonna just do like some 3 collective breaths together. Like,
Love it.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're just sit comfortably, whatever feels good to you. Hands on your knees, your chest, your belly. Like stand up, whatever feels good. And we're just gonna breathe in together. Out. Again, in and out. And one more time. In and out. Yeah! Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate you so much. I know that this doesn't replace that in real life experience, but hopefully you still feel part of this community. And thank you again for joining us, or if you're catching the recording, joining us later. And go get vaxxed. Yay!